Hi guys, this is Suzanne Bird with the Ute Lake Online Learning Center. I'm going to make some videos for some of the classes, some of the units. So this video is for my Algebra 1 Semester 1 course, Unit 2. This video is specifically for Lesson 2, the language of algebra. And for anyone that just happens on this video, cool. This language of algebra is pretty common in most algebra courses, so you'll get stuff out of it too, so it's cool. Alright, for those of you guys in the Ute Lake Online Learning Center, when you click on the lesson for this, the first thing that you should notice, or that you will notice, you can't help but notice, is the large amount of vocab for this particular lesson. And I know people grumble when there's vocab in math, right? This is math class, not English. What's going on? But like the lesson title, the language of algebra, there is what I call math speak, and it'd be nice to know what the heck the stuff you're reading about and the words that come out of my mouth when I do these videos, what that stuff means. So I'm not going to go into great detail over every single word that's on here, other than to tell you to screenshot it and keep it somewhere safe, or print it so that you have it for quizzes and stuff later. Okay? If you don't if you're not a Ute Lake Online Learning Center person, obviously you can screenshot this video and zoom in. Okay? So I'll probably be using some of the words in this, but I want to emphasize the importance of this list to my students. The other page in this lesson that's really important, and I really like, is this table. It's a couple pages down, and this is definitely something worth printing, screenshotting, whatever you got to do to get this somewhere where you can access it later on, and even in other math classes later on, because a lot of times the really hard part about any math class is deciphering word problems, and so this is a really good list to help you decipher word problems when you get to that. Okay, so those are the two pages in that lesson that you really should somehow or another take a picture of or print and keep for your notes. Okie dokie. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I have written this one down. This is also in the notes page, but I went ahead and just copied it, and we're going to talk about this. Okay? So what this is a really scary, yucky equation. And the reason it's an equation is because of this equal sign. Okay? This equal sign makes this an equation. It's equating this side to that side. Now then, the very first word in your lesson is expression, algebraic expression. So if I just wrote this down, alright, no equal sign, then that's an expression. Alright, we're just expressing math. We're not trying to solve anything here. We're just like, dude, this is how I feel about math, this particular math. This is an expression. Alright, it's I could go on, but I won't be goofy here. Anyway, as soon as I put an equals, then it becomes an equation. So expression, equation. Alright, now then, these groups of things that are in between the math operations, okay, these I like to call globs of algebra, alright, are called terms. Alright, so this is a term, this is a term, and this is a term. And really, this is a term. Okay? So you'll hear the phrase combine like terms. Well, like terms would be 2 or 3 or 4 or however many terms that happen to be similar, and we'll get into that later. Okay? But these are terms. Now then, I also tend to call them globs of algebra when I'm doing my instruction, because globs of algebra sounds much more interesting than term. But anyway, okay, so let's look at a couple of things. Let's look at this term. This is 2 times x. Okay, this is when you get into algebra, there's no more time symbol, except for if things are next to each other, it means multiplication. If we have parentheses around things, that means multiplication. If there's a dot in between things, that means multiplication. So when you have a term that consists of numbers and letters, okay, the number in front of the letter is a coefficient, and I need a better pencil, okay? Okay, that's the number, coefficient. Over here in this term, these are all letters, X, Y, Z. There's still a coefficient here, it's just invisible, and that's true with any term. If there's no numbers, there's always a 1. He likes to be invisible. So there's always at least a 1 as your coefficient. Okay? The letters are variables. And the reason we use letters is because if I gave that letter a particular number, then that term could only equal one thing. But X represents something that changes over time, whatever it is we're talking about, it's changing. So sometimes X could be 1, sometimes X could be 3, sometimes X could be -4/5, right? This number is an unknown number, and it could change. And if X changes, the whole equation changes, okay? So that's why we call them variables. Variable, something varies, it changes, all right? So X is a variable here, X is a variable here, Y is another variable, and Z is another variable. So it's highly likely that X represents one number, Y is another number, and Z is a completely different number. Okay, so all of these guys are called variables. All right, so we've got a number in front of a variable. That number is called a coefficient. If you've got a number that's just out there, no variable next to it, it's just sitting there like, hey, how you doing? I'm 5. How are you? Okay, that is a constant because it doesn't change. Right? 5 is always 5 no matter how you look at it. Okay? Even 13 over here is all by himself. We could call him a constant. 13 is always 13 no matter how you write it. It's 13. This 2 is always a 2, but 2 times whatever this is, that whole term could change depending on what that is. Okay? So that's why we call these numbers coefficients, and these numbers that are by themselves constants. Okay? Mathematical operations is the thing that you do math with. Would be like the verbs, the math verbs. Okay, so this is a math operation. Right there it's saying subtract. This is a math operation. Sorry about this. I haven't quite gotten this videoing down. I probably need to get a stand or something if I do very much of these things. Okay, or an operator, right? It could be an operator. I'm adding stuff. I'm operating. I'm doing mathematical surgery here. I'm subtracting. Okay, I'm operating. I'm doing mathematical operation. Okay. All right. Let's see. In this particular lesson, it goes through all of the vocab. You know, what does this mean? What does that mean? It's multiple choice. Tell me what each little thing is. Operation, relation symbol. This would be a relation symbol. Because we're relating this side, this stuff, to this side. You know, when we solve all this and figure out what all those letters are, this side will equal that. They'll have a relationship. Greater than or equal to symbols, less than, all those guys, those inequalities are all relation symbols because we're relating one side to the other side. Okay, so those are relation symbols. Okay, the only other thing that I see in this, and I think it's pretty pretty self-explanatory, but don't let me take that for granted. I'm out of scratch paper. When you have an expression and they tell you to evaluate, when they say evaluate and they give you numbers for the letters, sometimes they'll say evaluate for, sometimes they'll knock out, they'll just say evaluate. All you're doing is plugging and chugging is what I call it. You plug in the value for x, where x is, you plug in the value for y is, and then it's just math. So here x equals 3, so I'm going to rewrite this. X is now 3. We're still doing plus. Y is 6 minus 7. Okay, it's not an equation because there's no equals here. So all we're doing is just simplifying this down. Order of operations left to right. So 3 plus 6 is 9. And then 9 minus 7 is 2. And so when I evaluate for x equals 3 and y equals 6, I get 2. All right, so that's all that means. Okay? Just remember, if you have coefficients, next to them, those mean multiply. So if I wanted to evaluate this for the same numbers, I would replace the x with the number that it tells me to, but I have to remember that I'm multiplying it to the coefficient next to it. Okay? Order of operations says multiply first, and then do the math, do the subtraction. 15 minus 12. Okay? So that's basically it in the lesson. Pay attention to the vocab. All right? This vocab that now that you can't see because my marker bled through, very, very important, and they're going to quiz you on it too. So like I said, take a screenshot, and I'm probably upside down because I don't know what I'm doing here at the YouTube video thing. Sorry about that. Take a screenshot of that stuff so that you have it somewhere safe, and you can pass the quiz. All right, that's all for lesson 2. I will work on lesson 3 next. See you later. Bye.